You're listening to Miss Style, Strength, and Grace with Deidra Murphy. This is your one-stop shop for style, fashion, health, and fitness. Deidra's passion is to help empower women to reach their fullest potential, both inside and out. Deidra and her guests will be discussing how to develop your style, health, and lifestyle hacks to energize your day and inspire you to keep reaching higher levels of success. Deidra is a professional fashion stylist, health guru, and Mrs. Washington 2017. It's time to get open and honest with Deidra.
Well, hello and welcome to today's episode. Today I'm sharing a little story that happened actually over the weekend, actually two stories all on the same day, and it really taught me a lot about communication and effective communication. And I am sharing my three biggest, takeaways from that and life lessons learned. So about a month ago, we got asked to actually speak at a local gym here called Gold's Gym. I'm sure it's a nationwide chain, but we have two branches here that are actually connected with one another. And we got asked to speak at their upcoming 12-week challenge. So every Saturday they have workshops and group classes and a lot of things to help invigorate people as they get started in their journey to hopefully losing weight and making their own health goals in the next 12 weeks. And the kickoff meeting was this last weekend, and I didn't set up the talk, but I was asked to speak and talk about health and nutrition and just overall wellness so that we could invigorate these Gold's Gym members to kickstart their journey on the right foot. And our assistant at the office, her name is Jen. She's a great helper, and she was the one that was coordinating with the gym and the managers of the gym and getting all the T's dotted and T's crossed, I's dotted. You got it. And she put all the notes in our Google Calendar app, so that way I would know what time I was supposed to be there, when I was supposed to talk, what my topic was, who the connective person was or contact person was at the gyms for me to coordinate with in case there was any questions. And, I'd been prepping during the week for my talk that Saturday. And as I was looking through the notes on the Calendar app, making sure I knew what time I was supposed to be there, I made sure I messaged her hey, do they need a PowerPoint presentation? If so, where do I send it? And, got that information back from her and was able to send my PowerPoint presentation to the Gold's Gym manager at the Richland location, which was where the talk was supposed to be at in Richland, Washington. And I got that sent over through, Google Drive, all that fun stuff. I'm not very technology savvy, so to be able to upload it to the Google Drive and send that properly, I was shocked. But anyway, so I get all my ducks in a row. Saturday morning comes. I am told that the talk and the whole seminar starts at 11. So being the person that I am and just the things that I do every morning, I got up, I worked out, I got ready, I left and I headed down there, and I was running a couple minutes late. I got there about 10:55 and the seminar was supposed to talk at 11. Jen, our office assistant, had been there since about 10:40 or 10:45 just to make sure that we were in the right room. We knew where we were supposed to be, that way she had the PowerPoint up for me and ready to go so that I could just come. I was supposed to be the very last one to speak. There was going to be, I think, two other speakers, and then I was supposed to be the last one anyway. And they had told me that it was from 11 to 1. Or at least that's what had been told from the Kennewick, Washington branch of Gold's Gym had told us that it started at 11. Well, I walk in and it's, not even 11 yet. And the whole group and class of people is walking out of the room that we were supposed to be in. And I thought, oh, well, maybe they're moving it into a different seminar room or location at the gym because it's already too packed in here or whatever. Maybe there's just too many people in this kind of small room. And I found out that the seminar had actually started at 10 a.m. So I was kind of flustered, a little bit annoyed, and I was going back through all my notes, looking through the Google Calendar, going, wait, did I miss something? Did I get something wrong? Did I just completely pull a blonde moment? And, Jen our assistant was really flustered as well because she's, our employee, and she's wanting to make sure that she didn't mess something up. And as she's looking through all of her correspondences with the branch manager of the Kennewick location and the dates and times that he gave her, we were told 11 a.m. And even as we were, figuring this all out, people actually were still showing up at 11. So members of the Kennewick gym facility were showing up at the Richland facility at 11 because there was miscommunication between the two branches of the gym themselves. So Kennewick Gold's Gym had been telling their members that the seminar started at 11 over at the Richland location, and the Richland location was telling their gym members that the seminar started at 10 right there at the Richland Gold's Gym. And, with the different means of communication that we have in our world today, something was lost along the line. Even their flyers, I think, at the Kennewick Gold's Gym said the wrong times, and there was just a lot of inefficient communication, and it led to some frustrating parts on like Jen, our assistant, as well as myself, and just and frustration too for the manager of both gym locations as they were trying to coordinate amongst themselves. Long story short, I was able to reschedule my talk, and it's going to be on a different Saturday, and now I'm going to focus a little bit more on nutrition, which is fine, and I'm fine with that, and I think it's good too, because that's actually a little bit more where I'm knowledgeable about when it comes to health and fitness and weight loss, is the nutrition aspect. And it just started some lessons right then and there. So anyway, I left the gym and I was in a part of town right by a Target, and I was like, oh, well, I have some returns to make to Target, which that's a whole other story, because I ended up going to return things at Target and somehow walked away with more things in my cart. I don't know how that happens. Target, you get me every time. Anyway, go to Target, and I had plans later that afternoon at about 1:30, probably closer to 2 o'clock, just because of my friend. We were supposed to meet for coffee at a grand opening for a coffee house here in town, and we had decided to meet at 2 because she had a customer coming to pick up cookies from her. She makes cookies at 1:30, so we were like, okay, let's just call it 2 to be safe. So here it is. It's only like noon as I got out of Gold's Gym and was running errands. I'm like, oh, it's only noon. I'll have time to run to Target, run to the dry cleaners, drop some things off, pick my dry cleaning up, etc. And my friend Lisa texted me and said, hey, my customer came super early. I'm free if you want to head over to the coffee house right now. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I texted her back. Well, I'm way over in Richland by the Gold's Gym out here, and I have to run by the dry cleaners first and run a couple errands before I head to the coffee house. She mistook what I said in my text message. She's a sweetheart, and she thought I wrote I'm on my way from the Gold's Gym in Richland. So then she said, oh, okay, perfect. And then literally maybe like 20 minutes later, maybe like 25, she texted me and said, hey, I'm here waiting for you in the parking lot. Let me know when you get here. And I thought, wait, what? Like, how is she already there? I told her I was way out in Richland, which if you know our town, I know this doesn't sound like super far, but to get from where I was at to where she was at was probably going to take me about 35 minutes. I know if you live in a big city, that's like nothing to you, but in our town, like that's a long way. And I was like, how did she get there right now? Like, what is the miscommunication? Where was the misunderstanding? Like, I told her I had to also run to the dry cleaners and run a couple other errands. And I texted her back and I was like, why are you already there? And she said, you were on your way. And it made me realize, wait a second, she must have misunderstood what I wrote. So I went back and looked at my text messages just to make sure I hadn't written somehow, oh, I'm on my way. And I was looking through our back and forth and I realized, oh, when I said I'm way out in Richland, she thought I meant I was on my way, and she couldn't hear, through my text message that I was emphasizing the word way as in like on the other side of town. So I scooted on over. I got done at the dry cleaner as soon as possible, scooted on over to the other side of town and met up with her. Thankfully, it was only about like 1:30, so I was actually technically like early, if you want to just point that out. But I got there around 1:30 and we met up for coffee and still got to chat for about an hour and a half before we both had to part our separate ways. And her reaction could have been anger, but she totally understood, and we still ended up having a good catch-up session on Saturday. But both of these stories led me to come to the conclusion that I have some takeaways. Always with life, right? Like anything happens, we can learn from it. So my biggest first takeaway is clear communication. So double checking things. I could have easily double checked with the manager of the Richland Gold's Gym and cut out all the middle people. I had his contact information. I had his email address. I mean, I'd already sent him my PowerPoint for crying out loud. And I just could have easily taken that extra step and said, just to confirm, it's at 11 a.m. tomorrow. And he would have caught that and said, oh, no, it starts at 10. And be here a little bit early so you can set up if you need to. And that would have quickly cut down the back and forth. It would have made it clear to both he and I what was going on, and it would have solved our problem right there the day before, actually. Or for instance, with Lisa, clear communication. I could have easily just called her up and said, hey girl, I'm over at Target by blah, 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 be about 30 minutes before I can head that way if you want to meet there in about half an hour. Or I could have said, or I'm running errands. I still won't be able to get done with my errands till about 12:30 or so. And then I'll head there right after. I'll let you know when I'm on my way. And it was honestly more convenient to write a text. I mean, how often do we sit in our world and we're like, oh, I'll just text them, but I won't call them. I remember when technology was first developing and like texting first kind of started to come up and be prevalent, I was in college and I think it was my first iPhone because I'm an iPhone user from day one. I had a first generation iPhone, and now that's what I get for having a brother that works for Apple. But I remember like being in class, and of course I was a good student, but like sometimes I'd be like texting underneath my table in class. And like if my mom tried to call me, I obviously wouldn't answer, but then she would text me her question and I'd respond and she'd go, wait, you didn't answer my phone call. Why are you texting me back? And I'd say, well, I'm in class, Mom. I can respond via text. And then she would of course quip back with, well, stop texting. You're in class. Pay attention. College kid problems, right? Especially when iPhones was like mind blowing as far as, oh my gosh, I can touch the screen and then I can give this huge long text, and I wasn't limited to using the T9 texting system from our old Nokia phones. Anyway. Oh wait, no, I had a Razr phone. Remember those? The Razrs from Motorola? Anyway, I just dated myself by a long time. And it just would have been easier if I would have called Lisa up, and it would have, again, shortened that or it would have taken longer to call her rather than just send her a text. But, in the end, it would have saved us both time because we wouldn't have wasted time. My takeaway number 2 is honestly to rely less on technology. I know especially technology is supposed to help us, or technology is supposed to help us. But if I would have just, checked just the notes in my Calendar and seen the email address for the manager of Gold's Gym, right then and there, I could have easily just clicked on it and sent him an email from my phone to confirm the time, and the problem would have been solved. Or, instead of texting Lisa, which may have been easier and more convenient, picking up the dial part of my phone and just giving her a freaking call instead of texting. Or how many of us sit there and use our voice to text and then actually hit send, and it's this discombobulated message that the recipient doesn't even understand because there's so many misspellings or missing punctuation, and it just looks like a first grader got on your phone and started jabbing at buttons. And then we have to go back and like retype the message and reconfirm what we were trying to say, when in the first place, if we would have just called that person and hashed it out over the phone, or even sent them an email where we're actually typing on a computer, it would have cut out so much more time in the long run. So I think that's my second biggest takeaway. And number 3, I think this is the most important one, actually. I may have said that about number 1, but I think number 3 is actually a little more important. But we choose our reactions. So I actually had an interview today for my podcast with a special guest, and I can't wait to have you hear her message. But her whole message is like, how do you want to show up? And basically it kind of means like, what is your mental state? How are you going to show up? How are you going to react? I could have blown my fuse, blown up and thrown a fit at Gold's Gym, and that would have made me A, look like a little brat, but B, it would have ruined the relationship that we have established with Gold's Gym and any other future collaborations or health talks or wellness events that we would have wanted to have there. Plus 2, in the end of the day, me blowing up, would that have changed the situation? Would have made me get there at 10 a.m. rather than 11? No. And, it allowed me, by being kind in my reaction and going with the flow and saying, hey, it's okay. How are we going to move forward and fix this? It allowed me to set up a future talk with them that's actually coming up in about a week. And I can see it as a blessing now, because now I get to speak on a topic that I'm a little bit more enthusiastic about, a little bit more knowledgeable about, and gives me a little bit more time to prepare as well, and have more fun with it. And plus I get to speak with an awesome personal trainer that I've actually met before, and we're going to just kill it at our talk and help inspire more people to get on point with their nutrition for their 12-week challenge. But also, Lisa got to choose her reaction. So she could have been upset with me. She could have left the coffee shop and just been like, I don't have time to waste. I'm also a business owner. I run a cookie business, and she could have gone that route. But instead, she was patient with me. She was kind enough to wait for me to get to the coffee house, especially with it being super busy. It was their grand opening day. So they were doing half off all their coffees. They had live music. They had free cookies and cupcakes and, goodies for everyone and for the kids. But she was kind enough to wait for me. So she chose to show up in a way that was also a blessing in my life. So those are my 3 biggest takeaways when it comes to effective and clear communication. So I challenge you this week, as you go into the rest of your week or your day, what are some ways that you can maybe clear out the clutter in communication, and maybe even eliminate some of the devices or forms of communication that actually create more confusion, and sometimes just go back to the simple ways of life, maybe picking up the phone and calling somebody instead of sending them a text message, or sending them a written email that you actually typed out on a computer so that you can spell check and make sure your message is clear and concise. Or this is one of my favorites. I love to send handwritten thank you cards. We live in such a world where everything is so fast paced, and people just send a quick text as like, oh, thank you for doing blah, 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 or sending such and such gift. But when you sit down and handwrite a note or a letter or a card, it shows that person that you took time out of your busy day and schedule to really be intentional about your message to that person. So that's my 3 biggest takeaways about communication from this weekend. As always, I love you all, and have a great rest of your day.
Hey ladies, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. To help empower more women, please be a doll and rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. For show notes and other free resources we mentioned today, go to styledbydeidra.com.